Welcome to the Business Happy Hour with your hosts, Frank Coto from Lincoln Lending Group, Ryan Pelky from TampaBay Plumbers, and Doug Ford with Suncoast Roofing Solutions on 970 WFLA. These three business owners will teach you how to work to live it up, not live to work. Now sit back, grab a cold one if you have one, and get ready for some serious business talk with three hilariously serious business owners. Now, your host of the Business Happy Hour, Frank Coto.
Hello, good morning, Tampa Bay. This is Ryan Pelky here with the Business Happy Hour with my host, Doug Ford. How you doing this morning, Doug?
I'm good, Frank.
And if you're listening to our live stream on Facebook, it is 12:30 on Friday. I welcome all you live listeners and hope you guys can chime into the show. I am filling in for Frank here for possibly a little bit more than the first segment. We'll see.
Who knows? He's still stuck in traffic.
Good cause, though. Good cause, Mr. Frank. I guess he went to go see his lunch on the lawn with his daughter.
Yeah,
first lunch
he's
on
usually
the lawn.
late for no reason. At least he has a good reason this time.
Yeah, he's a very good reason. So we certainly appreciate that being fathers. I have an Ethan. Doug has an Ethan. And we both have daughters, and I have another son named Tucker. So we get it. It's very important. I went to lunch on the lawn this year, and the kids, man, they eat it up. So, Frank, we'll see you soon, shortly, buddy. He's stuck in traffic, thinking about plowing through into the express lane. So we got a jam-packed show for you here. We got, of course, the horrible tragedy in Florida in Broward County, the shooting where 17 young people and some teachers lost their lives. Very tragic.
It's awful.
We've got the Winter Olympics wrapping up right now, and we've got the fake news media Trump collusion story of the year, which has just been ongoing. The Mueller investigation continuing to turn up no evidence of collusion, but more so evidence on the other side, I'd say, of some kind of collusion with possibly the DNC and Hillary. I mean, it seems like it's going that way more than it is Trump.
I think it depends what news source you listen to.
Yeah, that's the thing, and we'll get into that more, as the show goes on. But we're gonna switch over to some positive stuff here while Frank's out on his way. Business is good. Profits are up. Obviously, most small businesses right now are having a pretty good start to the year. I have to say, I know we are.
Yeah, I mean, I think as a whole, because the economy's booming. There's so many things going positive. If you're a decent company right now, you should be doing pretty well.
Exactly.
I know in my industry, most decent roofers are at least 2 months behind.
Yeah.
I'm about 3 months behind, and it's just it's obviously a good problem to have. But it's some of those things. Some of the times where it makes it difficult is because clients expect more than what they get.
Right.
I recently had a client that. We're doing a roof for him, and it's a 2-3 week project, and he's just a micromanager. Everything is calling and texting us like, why isn't this going on? And people don't realize that, I have my crew, my company, but I don't load the roofs. I don't make the tile. I don't do any of that I don't do any of that.
So any part in the supply chain.
Yeah, I can't control that. I tell Spy House, hey, look, I'm going to load the roof, and I'd like to get it loaded on Monday. They're like, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe in 2 weeks, Monday. So I don't control hardly, the only thing I control is when my guys show up and how hard they work.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. But people don't understand that everyone is busy right now.
So setting expectations is important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think people's expectations right now are they expect everything now.
I think that's a good business tip regardless of what kind of business you're in. Never overpromise and underdeliver.
But I think that, we deal with because of cell phones. I mean, right now everyone has such instant gratification that they don't feel like they should wait for anything.
No, that's very true. I mean, and so one of the things that we're focusing on in this year, in addition to quite a few other things, but is developing a new stream of revenue. And I think that it's important for a lot of business owners to consider this as an opportunity this year. While things are good, perhaps it's time to tap into another revenue stream that can insulate you from future economic downturn. So, right now, while things are good, let's hope they stay good for a number of years. Why not tap into a different source of revenue, whether it's along the same product line that you're offering now? Like, I'll give you, for instance, what we're looking at is selling a an enzyme for septic systems that we can sell nationwide. It's something that we've been in development for months, and it'll have our own label, and we can actually sell this to compete directly with Riddex nationwide.
Yeah.
And we're hoping that revenue stream will kind of insulate us from some of the ups and downs that you may see, the peaks and valleys of a typical service business.
Yeah. I mean, see, I don't think that's a bad idea at all. I mean, the one things we're looking at is getting away from anything construction housing related, maybe doing like an online retail,
right?
You know, something that's completely, you know, off topic, off what we're used to doing, but we're taking profits from that and investing in this.
Yeah.
What? Take the call real quick because he's got to go. He's teaching school right now.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay, so we have got a combat veteran. How do I take the call?
Take the button right. Hit the button.
Hello, how you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. This is Ryan with the Business Happy Hour. How you doing, sir?
Nick.
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Good, Nick. So I understand you're a combat veteran, school teacher, high school teacher?
I'm not a school teacher. I am a combat veteran. I'm a parent of 3 children up in North Florida.
Okay.
All week I've been talking with teachers, parents, SROs, and school board officials kind of on this thing, trying to get some common sense kind of reform in.
Right. So
I've learned a lot. I study political science in school. I'm a paralegal by trade. So I kind of have a little bit of idea of how this stuff works, and I was kind of trying to, you know, a lot of people have reflexive ideas of what to do. Like all of a sudden we're going to arm all the teachers, or we're going to ban guns in this area. I live in a Democrat county, so obviously there's a lot of support for that kind of stuff around here. I was at a PTA meeting last night. PTA just wants to, you know, put gun restrictions on there, but they did have some common sense things, and I think there's actually some common ground for this a lot. One of the things I was talking about is there's a Safe Schools Act in Florida. You know, counties receive money from the state. I believe it was about $64 million in 2016 for the state, and this is the fund. It's basically given to the counties as a grant, and they spend it as they see fit. Our county, which is Alachua County, is actually one of the only counties that spends 100% of their money on SRO funding. We have an SRO in pretty much every school in this county.
Okay.
And that includes elementary, high school, every county. So
that's a security officer.
But I mean, one of the things I was looking at was getting more funding for this. I mean, in Parklands there was an SRO. I'm sure everyone's seen it on the news. He didn't go inside. I don't know what, you know, I was talking to some of the SROs on what their training is. You know, they receive active shooter training, but
they're calling
just
that
like
guy
being in the military,
the coward of Broward.
You don't run into a gunfight by yourself a lot of the time. You know, I mean, it may seem, oh, I would do that if I was that cop, but that's easy to say. It's another thing to do when you're in a real life situation.
Sure.
Yeah, I think you brought up, you know, you have, you said obviously Democrats want to get rid of guns, Republicans think it's mental health. I mean, I think there's a little bit of, I think we need to touch on both of those issues. I mean, I think they're both a big problem.
And my wife's actually a mental health counselor, so I know a lot on that side as well. I mean, I know how the Baker Act works. She does a crisis, what's it called? She works for the crisis unit for HCA, so basically they get the people who are really bad in there. And she teaches mental health first aid, which is she teaches the county employees to deal with people who are in crisis with mental issues and things like that. And it's really an important thing to kind of touch on how these administrators deal with students who are in crisis. I mean, this young man had his foster parents die just very recently. And, you know, he obviously had a lot of emotional
Lots
problems,
of signs
things like
with
that.
him.
And rather than, you know, get him connected to resources, they just kind of said, hey, get the heck out of here. We don't want to deal with you. And then, you know, he comes back with a gun. That's not the right answer, obviously, but, you know, there may have been steps that could have been done in between there to maybe mitigate his stress level and not have him lash out in the way that he did.
No, absolutely. You know, so you know, the thing is hopefully we can have some common sense gun legislation that actually could make a difference. I don't think that it'll make any kid safer by just simply creating more gun-free zones. You know, that's I don't see how that could possibly be the answer.
Well, in the military, we kind of, you know, I worked in intelligence a little bit, so we did things like physical security assessments on bases, things like that. And, you know, there's a term that we use, and it's, you know, hard targets versus soft targets.
Right.
You know, and for somebody who knows how to identify things like that, like counterterrorism type activity, a school is a perfect place. Schools, libraries, public areas where there's not a huge law enforcement presence, or there's no threat of like a person carrying.
So Nick,
they're always soft targets.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think that putting vets in with armed vets in schools is a good answer?
Well, I don't know how many vets you've met, but I've met a ton of them.
Mm-hmm.
They vary just like the population does.
Of course.
So saying that it's not the answer isn't really my opinion, and saying that it is the answer is not. But it's like, what are you going to do? Are you going to hire them and make them employees? Are you going to ask them to be volunteers? How's the liability going to work with that?
Yeah, those are great points.
And not every vet is trained the same way as another. I was in the 82nd Airborne Division. I've had a lot of, I'm a 2-time combat vet. That doesn't mean that I'm trained the same way as somebody who was, who worked in supply or worked, in a hospital, like a medical hospital or something like that. The training varies by MOS. It varies by what your assignment is. It varies by what unit you're assigned to.
It seems like there's a heck of an opportunity there to tap into that vast amount of our population that is trained.
A lot of vets are law enforcement also.
We just had Frank Coto, the host of the show, actually walk in the studio. So Frank, you're on with Nick. He's a 2-time combat veteran.
Wow.
Who also has his wife is in the mental health industry. Is that right, Nick?
Yes, sir.
Hey, this is good. Yeah, I know we got to take a break in a second. Can we carry Nick over into the next segment?
I think he had
I got to get back to work, but you can ask me any questions in the next minute or two.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, we'll do that. We'll take a real quick break, and we'll come right back to the business happy hour, and we'll ask you a couple quick questions for another minute. How about that?
Okay, that's good.
All right, Nick. So, guys, you've listened to the first segment of the business happy hour. We got more in just a few minutes here.
You have been listening to the Business Happy Hour with Frank Coto, Ryan Pelky, and Doug Ford. Now, back to the show.
Hey, Nick, we are back on the air with you at the Business Happy Hour. This is Frank Coto. I'm glad that I walked in time to catch this conversation. Thanks for being on the air.
No problem, man.
So I heard Ryan bring it up, and it's something that I've been all over ever since this shooting is the whole idea about the veterans in schools. And the thing, I like what you're saying about the different training, but the thing that I always try to tell people is, most veterans, they at least have some gun training. At least you guys have a baseline for how to handle weapons safely and what to do. And then we could always add a little additional training, just like Trump was talking about on the TV the other day about having teachers in the schools. And so you're in agreement with this?
Well, I'm agreeing in more training, but I mean to say that we're just going to hire vets and that's going to be your qualification, everyone has a basic basic marksmanship. They have basic first aid training. But what I was talking about with the SRO at my children's school was the possibility that they have student resource officers have actual active shooter training specific to dealing with this kind of thing. And not only that, but the fact that you have a deputized, someone who either works in the law enforcement community or a deputized safety officer, they're not just going to be able to react to active shooters. You're talking about bomb threats. They can deal with other kinds of law enforcement issues. So putting the funding just in armed people for school shootings, the risk factor is like really, really small that your child is ever going to be involved in a school shooting. So spending that money more wisely in somebody who's trained to handle multiple types of law enforcement activities, to me, is a better plan than just hiring people for, while this is an issue. You're not looking for what has happened. You don't want people who are trained for what has already happened. You want people who are trained for any contingency, any kind of possibility of what's going to happen.
I agree.
My children were, they had a bomb threat last year. They marched the kids through to this community center nearby, and then they put them all out on an open field. That was the wrong answer. I went out there and talked to first responders. I'm like, listen, if somebody was really trying to attack this school, called in a bomb threat, they could just be waiting for these kids to evacuate and then go after. So that kind of training for law enforcement is important.
Well, you know, in that same token, Nick, I had a real concern with what my children's school did with them last week. They did an active shooter drill, and they took him. My son tells me he was in music class, and they took all the kids and they stuck them in a small closet. And, you know, we were at dinner last night, and one of our wives brought up the fact, said, hey, man, this guy must have been a really good shot. I said, no, it's not that he was a good shot. When you put 10 bodies in a small room and you're using a high-powered rifle, I mean, anybody who's been hunting and shot any animal and seen a bullet pass right through flesh knows that you can take out 6 people with one high-power round. So you don't have to be a good shot. It's a terrible idea to huddle these kids together and put them in an area like that.
You're absolutely right, and I've actually talked about it. And something that our county has done even before this last shooting was they've installed what they call, or instituted what's called ALICE training. I forget what the acronym actually means. I was told last night, but basically it's a different type. It's not that huddle and hide type mentality anymore. It's empowering the teachers and the students to use instincts and to use situational awareness to either it gives them the opportunity to run, fight, or make decisions based on what the situation dictates.
Yeah, pick up. I heard the same thing.
I was really encouraged to find out that was been implemented. My county is one of the few school districts that has implemented that in the state of Florida so far, and I'm just hoping that more counties pick up on that.
What county are you, Nick?
Alachua County, Gainesville area.
Alachua, very good. Very good. Good county, terrible school. Sorry, we're a couple Seminoles in here, so I had to throw that out there.
Oh, well.
Hey, we can't be perfect, right? But no, I really wish Hillsborough would look at doing the same thing. I've heard of what you're training you're talking about, and I know part of it involves weaponizing anything in the room. You know, you can't lay down, just like this nightclub shooting and all this other stuff. What goes through people's minds when they think they're just going to lay down and get shot in the back of the head? I mean,
again, it comes down to the old, the old types of fire drills where you're trying to keep control over the classroom and things. I understand why it was designed the way it was, but it was lazy thinking.
Right.
The Alachua County Sheriff Officer who I spoke to last night at a PTA meeting, he was talking about, he's a combat vet, and he's the one that's in charge of instituting across the county. He's a real good guy. You know, he understands the threat, and I think they're making good steps here in Alachua County, and we spend more on SROs than any other county does as far as what funds we have available. And all I'm pressing for is maybe a little bit more. You know, this deputy down in Broward, I don't know what his situation was. I don't know what his training was. But had he had another SRO on campus with him, they may have been more likely to engage the shooter. They may have had, and again, a lot of these plans go on the fact there's one shooter. I mean, if you get another Columbine situation where you have multiple shooters, one deputy is not going to do anything anyway, and the response time is 7 to 30 minutes response time for police to get on the scene.
There's already a lot of concealed carry holder not police officers, but teachers. That already exist. I mean, why couldn't? And
that is something that I do support. I do believe that teachers with concealed weapons permits should be allowed to defend themselves, and I would support that. But I don't support having teachers who have never fired a gun going through gun training or things like that, because honestly, that's not what they signed up for, and that's not the responsibility that I want to give them.
But hey, if there were, say, 10 concealed carry holders in that Parkland school, gosh, I mean, that could have made all the difference in the world.
Well, you look at most statistics.
If it was even possible that there was concealed weapons permit holders in that school, it may have changed the shooter's mind on what he was going to do.
Bingo,
exactly.
And that's what Trump just said.
That's a great point.
We were talking about that Texas. There's a Texas school, or a couple Texas schools where they actually have the teachers have concealed weapons, and they've never had a problem.
And that's what I said. It's not so much the arming of teachers, but giving them the possibility to defend themselves.
Right.
Removes that soft target designation from the school.
Take away that gun-free zone. I mean, gun-free zone equals soft target.
But you're still going to need restrictions on that. You can't just let any teacher bring a gun in. I'm totally for having them either the weapons locked up, either in a lockbox in their desk, or in a central point like the SRO's office. But I think that it's the right of every American to be able to defend themselves, and I think gun-free zones kind of remove that a little bit. But it's something that has to be done at the local level, district by district. I mean, I know there's a federal law that actually institutes the gun-free zone right now. But, if that could be changed, then you allow local districts to make their decisions, allow them to make their own safety plans, and then they get held accountable by the voters.
Yep. Hey, Nick, we got to get going in about 15 seconds.
I got to go anyway.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you so much for having you on. We appreciate your opinions. Guys, you're listening to the Business Happy Hour with Frank, Ryan, and Doug. We're going to be back in just a minute with more about this hot and explosive topic of gun control, protecting our kids, and guns in schools. We'll be back in a minute.
Attention, soldiers. This is General Mortgage here with a special announcement. Tomorrow is Veterans Day. Number one, you better say thanks to the veterans for everything they've done. Number two, you better be using the right mortgage company, 813 Mortgage. And don't forget, you drop the E, we'll shoot them fees.
You have been listening to the Business Happy Hour with Frank Coto, Ryan Pelky, and Doug Ford. Now, back to the show.
Hey, guys, welcome back to the show. So I was a little late today. I had a daddy-daughter breakfast at school. And I'll say that there was a little bit of talk about the whole shooting there. And what do you guys think about this? We all have young kids in school. My wife made me turn off the TV the other night when they were talking about it, and she didn't want my son to hear about shooter in school and things like that.
And then yet the kids go to school and they have a drill.
Yeah. So what do you think as parents?
I think we have to dictate the narrative.
Okay.
I personally don't think we should let the schools dictate it. In fact, I always find it interesting to hear the angles that the schools take when they're approaching different topics. Mm-hmm. And then I kind of teach them, I give them my point of view.
So I've been hearing there's a few schools locally that are doing like walkouts.
Yeah, that is happening. It's kids that they're walking out because they want gun laws.
Yes.
But did you guys see this? Let me just divert to this real quick. Sorry, Ryan, but this is somebody posted this the other day. It said, "Hey, we're gonna listen to the same teenagers who are chewing Tide Pods." Yeah. Okay. And 3 weeks ago, we had the president asking Tide to change the makeup of their Tide Pods so the teenagers wouldn't chew them and die. Oh, and yet these are the same guys that we're going to listen to on gun laws. I mean, no. Look, I was a teenager once. I was very outspoken. I was one of those guys I know everything. I know what I'm talking about. That was me. Okay. And I would not listen to me right now. So, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, guys, we understand. And I said something that probably came off as insensitive last night. My wife told me that. But, just because you were a victim of this doesn't mean that you're an expert at this. Is that, Gary, you could talk about it. Here you go. I knew he would say something to this. What do you got?
Okay. I actually was a school resource officer at Robinson High School for 2 years.
Okay,
so I know when I worked for the city of Tampa, and I know the training that I went through.
Okay.
And I was actually asked this morning by somebody else what I would have done. And there's a saying, it's better to be judged by 12 than carried by 6.
Yes.
And then there's always that, I'd rather be a live coward than a dead hero.
You okay?
Okay.
Ooh,
but
I don't like that one.
Right. But you look at it like, what is my job? What was my job? I went in to be a police officer knowing that at one point in my life, I would be involved in a shooting.
Right.
And I was within 9 months of being hired.
Okay.
I was 21 years old. I had no clue. I screamed like a 12-year-old girl on a radio.
Oh, gosh.
During it, and it freaked me out for a couple of years. And then when the second shooting happened, when I was involved in a second shooting, I was able to more deal with it than I was the first shooting.
Okay.
But you're talking about kids in a stage of their life where they're looking at law enforcement now as we hate. Remember, months ago, we hate law enforcement.
Oh, yeah.
Now where you at? You didn't save us.
Yeah.
Well, 6 months ago, you hated me.
Right.
So I'm just, I was a school resource officer. I've been there.
So how about this resource officer? Have you been seeing what's on the news? And I'm not fully up to date on it.
The coward of Broward is what they're calling him.
Oh no!
But guess what? He's a live hero. He's going to get his pension. You can't sue him.
So what happened? Did he just not respond at all?
No, he stayed outside and took a safe, secure position. Which, what are you going to do? You're trained for backup. When you take the state exam, when you take the state law enforcement exam, it states one of the biggest things that's in there is officer safety.
Okay.
Officer safety is the number one question on the state.
Not protect the citizens, protect and serve.
Officer safety.
Yeah, but he was by himself. He didn't,
And he was outgunned.
Yeah.
Well, he was outgunned. I will give you that. But okay, let's.
You remember when Sandy Friedman took the shotguns out of the police department?
Yeah.
They took them out of the car because it's so offensive. Now you want these cops to have guns? Do you remember the shooting down in Miami? With the FBI agents that went against the Rangers, the guys that were Rangers, they were outgunned.
Yeah.
Columbine, outgunned.
Right.
I mean, if you go back to L.A., outgunned.
Common denominator. Yeah, what happened in L.A. that they had to break into the gun store to get guns to fight back against those guys who were in the Type 5 body armor. By the way, some of the most amazing footage I've ever seen in my life.
That was amazing.
But so how did they stop those guys? With equal weaponry. So how are we going to stop the bad guys? Not with laws.
No, I mean, we were talking about earlier that we have the left saying it's a gun problem. We have the right saying it's a mental health problem.
Right.
And the problem is it's both problems.
Sure.
We need to have stricter gun regulations. You can't get rid of guns. If you're a bad person, you're going to find a gun.
Even if we made the AR-15 illegal from here
it doesn't matter. If you're bad,
you'll
be able to
10
find
million
it.
of them.
Exactly.
Right?
Well, that's just the thing. I mean, we talked about it last night at dinner. But, if you're crazy enough and sick enough in the head to actually be okay with killing other students or any human being whatsoever, especially a child, then you're definitely crazy enough to obtain a weapon.
Yeah, how about a car? Hey, what Nick just brought up, great point. We shovel kids outside into a field, okay? So all I have to do as a sicko is pull the fire alarm.
A car is a loaded weapon.
Yeah, and drive a truck through all the kids. I mean, it would be like a damn video game. Driving that through the field with kids. It's terrible.
Yeah,
it's terrible to even think about that, but you can't stop sick people.
No.
But the only way to stop them in their act is with a good guy that can stop them. Like, I think back to that coach. Like you just said, Gary, the guy was outgunned. How about that coach who put his body in front of the children? Yeah. And how many kids did that guy save? I'm going to cry talking about this. But that guy, through his life, he's not even an officer. Yeah. And he chose to put his life out for those kids.
The larger problem in this country is the mental health issues and the overprescription of drugs and all of the psychotic, antipsychotic medications.
The drugs, the prescription, big pharma.
This was not happening 30 years ago.
Mental health is a serious problem in the United States. Period.
How long ago was it when you could have a rifle in the back of your truck and you could actually drive that truck to school and park it in the parking lot?
Well, I'll tell you.
I think when I was in high school, I remember seeing that.
You could do that in high school.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know it, but my grandfather had a gun under my seat in high school when I was driving around. I found out the hard way. But yeah, you could do that legally. Matter of fact, I still know people today who pick up their kids through the drive-through line with the gun in the back window. Now, I don't know if that's legal or not. I don't know if it's because it's in their car.
On campus, it's a felony.
Right. If he drives on campus, it's a felony. Driving on campus, because isn't your car an extension of your home?
Nope.
I thought
on campus is an extension of the school.
Well, if you're listening and you know who you are, you probably shouldn't do that. But he does that to this day, and you know who it is. I'm not gonna say who his name is, but
that's
somebody
right.
we know.
Yeah.
And he's been posting on Facebook about it. Probably not a good idea. Probably not. But you gotta, these people. You can't stop the crazy. And the craziest stat I saw recently was there may be more guns in America now than there were 50 years ago, but there was a vastly higher percentage of homes that had guns 50 years ago, reported homes with guns. And
per capita.
We didn't have that. We didn't have these shootings. So what's the denominator? I go back to what Doug said. It's the overprescribing. Yeah. It's the things that we're putting our kids on. It's parenting.
I mean, there's also, it's a perfect example, and this is a little off topic, but we have a friend going through mental health issues, and it's very difficult to even get an appointment.
Oh yeah.
Like 2-3 months. I mean, 2-3 months. That's the problem. Is that we don't have enough people out there willing to be a mental health, specialist, and we don't have there's just not enough programs in place for these people that need help.
Right. Well, the problem. I mean, I've had the problem in my family as well. If you have a family member who has a problem, it's very difficult to even get them help.
So I'm saying 3 months. We were friends in January is looking. The middle of March, end of March is the first time they could be seen. I'm like. By then they're either going to be dead or they're going to kill somebody, or that's a problem we face.
Right. We don't take it seriously.
No,
it's not taken serious. But yet we think, hey, let's throw some more laws on the books.
Yeah,
and they're going to fix that problem.
I have seen since I just got back from vacation with my wife, and so I've been out of the loop for the last week or so.
Yeah, you missed all this. You came into a firestorm.
I have seen all these comments about how gun violence in Australia is way down, and there's almost no gun violence in Australia. I've done research on Australia's gun laws for years. Okay, and that's all bogus. Australia they never had a mass gun problem. They had one mass shooting there. There was like 15 people that died. If that, that was it. That was the only one in the history. And since then, they went in and confiscated a lot of guns. I think they made it pay people for them. I can't remember.
Yeah, they did
exactly.
a buyback.
Yeah, they did a buyback program of some kind. But since then, all sorts of other crimes have increased.
Oh.
There's been a direct correlation since that gun buyback program took place. You've got petty theft, all sorts of other armed robbery. There's other crimes that involve guns.
Armed robbery.
So
does not
I grew up in the Maryland, D.C., Virginia area. It was illegal to have a handgun, a regular anything. You couldn't have guns. Now tell me, the Maryland and D.C.
They're one of the worst
gun violence in probably the United States.
Well, the same with Chicago. You can
So
throw them right in.
we got rid of guns, but look how much violence we have because of it.
Yeah.
So,
gun violence.
Yeah.
Gun violence.
Well, they haven't.
Baltimore. That's one of the highest.
Baltimore is like number 2 in the country.
Marijuana is
DC,
illegal, right? Marijuana is illegal, but I think people smoke marijuana in Florida.
Oh, that was a really good one I saw in the news the other day. A real good one. It was about, the solving the gun problem with laws. That works pretty well when we made drugs illegal, right?
Yeah.
Hey, so I've got a question that I want to bring up. One of our viewers brought it up, and I want to bring this up for the next segment, but I want you guys to think about it before the break. Okay. We talked about kids and how we talk to them in the schools, which I want to stay on that topic as well. At what age do we teach kids about guns and about gun safety? And when we come back from the break, I'm going to answer what happened to me. I want to hear what happened to you guys because, we all 3 are gun owners, so at some point we learned about guns. But I want to present that to our viewers, our Facebook guys, everybody to think about that. At what age do you teach kids? And I'm going to give some advice on what happened to me and how that worked and some personal experiences in my life that could have gone the wrong way. Okay, when it happens, kids run into guns. Okay, they run into guns. But before we take a quick break, I want to remind you guys can find us on Facebook. Please watch us on Facebook and watch the live video, and you guys can chat with us. And if you ever want to be a call-in like Nick, and guys, you don't have to only call in if you agree with us. Call in if you disagree with us. We actually want to have these conversations. We respect your opinions. We're not those crazy guys who won't talk about it.
Unless you're a Democrat.
Please call if you're a Democrat. We want to hear it. So you're listening to the Business Happy Hour on 970 and Facebook. Stay tuned for Children and Guns.
have been listening to the Business Happy Hour with Frank Coto, Ryan Pelky, and Doug Ford. Now, back to the show.
So we were just ranting in the break, and Verlander yells at us, "Why are you not doing this on the show?" He's right. We were saying the whole thing about Trump saying let the teachers with CCW be in the schools, but Doug brings up a point.
Well, I mean, Nick, and I agree with Nick, is that you can't. Teachers are teachers. They're not security guards. They're not police officers. I mean, if you have a teacher that's willing to be a concealed weapons holder, then hey, by all means.
Or there already are.
Or they are. I mean, I agree with that. But like you said, I mean, I think the greatest turn is if I'm going to shoot up a school and I think anyone could be armed, I'm not going to do it.
I'm going to the next school.
Exactly.
Like, I've got signs in front of my house that says, "Nothing inside is worth dying for." I am letting them know that I will shoot back if you come inside my house. How about just a sign out front of the school that says, "This school has guns"?
Yeah, or break it down even further.
Teachers are armed.
Right, if you're a student, good chance you know what teachers are armed and which ones aren't. I mean, you know where they're teaching at. You know what part of the you don't.
No, you don't.
No, you don't tell them.
No.
Don't
You don't
tell
tell
them which
any.
ones have them.
No, you don't tell any students who has it.
Right.
You make them all wonder.
Who's got.
Never
just
tell.
say this. Trump said, "Say that 10 teachers in the school have guns." Nobody knows who.
No, they should never know.
Could be your science teacher, but then he kept saying the coaches of. Yeah. All right, let's do it like this. All the coaches have guns, and some teachers. All right, so let's go to the serious question. I'm going to ask it to you guys. To you guys, Ryan. When did you first learn about guns? Who taught you about guns? Where did you learn about guns?
My dad actually taught me about guns. He took me out into the woods and we shot 22 rifle.
Yep.
It was a bolt action. And then I also had a semi-automatic 22 long rifle.
How old were you? Roughly.
I would say I was probably 7 or 8.
All right.
7 or 8
so your
years
dad
old.
when you were 7 or 8. Doug.
Well, I grew up in Maryland, D.C., so we didn't have guns. I didn't even touch a gun until I moved to Florida.
Wow.
So I was 23, 24 years old.
Okay, there we go. So we got two totally opposite ends of the spectrum. Mine was more similar to Ryan. I was hunting since I was 5 years old. I was taught about the guns and shooting the guns when I was 6. By 7, I was carrying a gun in the woods. Now, my dad was a former Marine veteran, very well in tune with guns. He would clean the guns in front of me. He basically told me that if I ever wanted to touch the guns, learn about the guns. I don't want to use the word play with the guns, but as a kid, that's the word you would use. He said, anytime you ask me, and I will do it. So what my dad did was he took away the curiosity. I never had to worry about it. I never was curious. I never had to go find my dad's gun in the drawer and look at it.
But he also taught you how to respect it, too.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I will tell you right now, and Doug, you tell me what you think about this, is until you have fired a gun, do you really respect what a gun does?
No.
I think it's hard to.
No, I completely agree with that. I mean it's...
you're scared.
But I mean, I think about my daughter and my son, at what age do I even, I mean, obviously my daughter's 4 and I've taught her about guns, never to touch them for now.
Right.
But at the same time, what age do you have a child go and shoot? I mean, especially I mostly have 45s. How's my daughter going to even pull a trigger or rack a 45?
Well, funny story. When we were out with Ethan and Landon, hunting just a few weeks ago, Ryan and I are shooting our 45s, and they were shooting their 22s.
Yeah.
And they said, "Hey, can we shoot that one?" And we're like, "Yeah, not yet."
Yeah, but that's my point. So at what age I obviously probably by I would think 7, 8, 9, I start teaching them, but...
Definitely.
I think kids are all different.
Right. The answer, there's no good answer, but the answer is as soon as your son or daughter is mature enough to respect it, you got to do it right away.
Yeah, no, I agree with the whole curiosity thing. By taking the curiosity away, it's going to probably protect them more in the long run.
So let me tell you a quick story. This happened twice in my life, and I wish I could remember exactly how old it was. I know one time I was in 6th grade. I remember where I was. It was at a friend's house, a friend's birthday party, upstairs, probably 15 kids there running around. Buddy of mine, Scott, I'll never forget, in his dad's bedroom, there was 4 of us in there, okay?
What were you guys doing there?
Looking for his dad's gun.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, now I didn't really quite know it at the time, but he goes, and next thing I know is look over, and here is a revolver, and I knew it was loaded because I knew what they looked like loaded, and he has it in his hand. Hey, look at my dad's gun. I was the only kid in the room who said, "Put that down right now. That gun is loaded. Do not point that. Get that gun out of your hand." I said, and I grabbed one of my other buddies, and I said, "Get out of here. All of us out of this room." And I got one of them out with me, and I left. Now, I probably should have gone and told the parents. I didn't do that. But very quickly, the other 2 left the room. I could have saved one of my friends from getting killed right there.
Yeah.
I could have witnessed that, right? I mean, that was seconds away. And we know revolvers. Hair triggers. Okay, if you once that hammer goes back, that you feather that trigger and it's gone. I mean,
Did he pull the hammer back?
No.
Okay.
No. A gun was in his hand, finger on the trigger.
Did he point it at anyone?
No, he didn't point. I mean, literally, it was out of the drawer for 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay, out of the drawer, and I freaked out.
Yeah.
I freaked out. It happened a second time to me with a rifle when I was a little bit older. And it's happened, other times. I had it in my car. I grew up with my dad having a loaded gun in the dresser drawer, in the car, in the closet. Shoot, 3 of them in the car. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always been there. Now I've taken a little precaution with my kids, and I don't keep one in the chamber. My dad was the round was in the chamber. Okay. It was ready to go. Which technically, if you carry, you probably should be ready to go. But it's that's why you have to teach them. If I did not have that knowledge of guns,
it's exactly right. That's why when we were just 2 weeks ago out in the woods with our kids, and I sat down for a couple hours with my son, with Ethan, and we cleaned all the rifles, we cleaned the handguns, and even during that exercise, I made sure while the guns weren't loaded, could even be fired, that he wasn't pointing them at at me or being unsafe with them. Just to get in the habit. You've got to be habit forming. Don't ever point a weapon at someone.
Right.
You got to start instilling that very early.
The last words are always, "I didn't think it was loaded." Okay, and I will tell you, with my experience with weapons, I've made a mistake before. Okay, I'll admit to it. I have pulled the trigger on a gun. Now, granted, I pointed it in a safe direction, but I pulled the trigger not realizing it was loaded. I thought it was unloaded. I did one time. And it was out in the woods hunting and all that. Now, what I'll do is I'll clear.
Bet you that you tightened up.
Scared the piss out of me. Okay? And no, tightened up, yeah. But what it is, I would unload the bolt action rifle, and you'd leave the mag hanging. And there was one of the ones on a swivel, and I'd unload it, and in habit, I would always close the bolt, point it in a safe direction, and pull the trigger, just in case, I guess, whatever. Well, I'd taken the wrong step. I closed it before I pulled the trigger. Usually I would leave it open and then close it because I leave the rounds in the magazine, and that's how a mistake could have happened. Right there.
Yep.
Point in the wrong direction. But we don't have much time left. Been a fast episode, a crazy episode.
What happens when we show up late?
Yeah, I know. I missed the first segment. But it was awesome that we had Nick on.
Yeah, Nick was cool.
That was really good. So listeners, we're glad you guys are enjoying the show. Again, we're number one, and please keep us number one. We appreciate you guys listening and telling your friends. And please feel free, if you want to call in, don't forget on Wednesdays and Fridays we're taping. So if you guys want to call, you can always reach out to us by Facebook or our website, or even text my cell phone, 813-765-1239. If you want to call in, we'd love to have you on. Anything else, guys?
No, I guess we'll pick up on that business tip stuff next week.
We'll do business next week. And everybody stay safe and have yourself a wonderful weekend. The Business Happy Hour is out. We will see you guys next week.
Hi, I'm Ryan with TampaBay Plumbers. Thank you for choosing us for all of your plumbing, septic, and water treatment needs. What makes us different at TampaBay Plumbers is that we're a local full-service plumbing contractor that can handle any project, large or small, including cured-in-place pipelining, septic installations, and various water treatment products. You can find us at tampaplumber.net or 24/7 by phone at 813-PLUMBER. Thank you, and we look forward to working with you. This is Ryan with TampaBay Plumbers. At some point, we've all had to have a drain line snaked out. This typically involves running a steel cable through the drain line in an effort to clear a blockage. This often leaves a film of scale or buildup on the inside of the pipe with a hole in the middle. The only way to properly descale a drain line is to perform a hydrojet service. We use equipment that essentially pressure washes the inside of the pipe, leaving your drain lines free and clear. The two symptoms of a sewer backup are foul odors and slow-moving drains. If you are experiencing either of these, contact us at tampaplumber.net or 813-PLUMBER. My name is Ryan, and I'm the production manager for TampaBay Plumbers, your one-stop shop for all of your plumbing and septic needs. We pride ourselves on building the reputation as the best plumbing and septic company in the Tampa Bay area. But don't take it from me. Look us up on Google and you will see that we have a 4.8-star rating with over 100 reviews. We also have multiple awards and recognition from multiple online review sites such as Angie's List, Yelp, and Facebook. We do everything plumbing and septic, from residential to commercial, new construction to service. You can find us at tampaplumber.net or call us at 813-PLUMBER. I'm Ryan with TampaBay Plumbers. As a plumbing and septic company with over 100 years of combined experience, we know how frustrating a sewer backup can be. That is why we pride ourselves on being able to identify the cause of a problem before a backup ever happens. One of the tools we use to identify a problem in the sewer system is a video inspection camera. This camera runs through the drain line and is able to identify and locate any problems in the sewer system on a live feed. We then take that information from the live feed and are able to provide a recommendation on how to best fix the problem, oftentimes without the use of any excavation. If you are experiencing any problems with your sewer system, you can find us at tampaplumber.net or call us at 813-PLUMBER.
Hi, I'm Ryan with TampaBay Plumbers, and welcome to our website. So what's different about TampaBay Plumbers? Everything is different about us. Our company does literally everything that involves plumbing, water, drainage, sewer, septic. We handle it from A to Z, which is completely different than just about every company in town. If you call a plumber, they don't do septic necessarily. Definitely if you call a septic contractor, they don't do plumbing. In addition to doing a very wide scope of services, we do them extremely well. And the reason why is our process and our people. We have spent many years perfecting our craft, and we've also spent many years finding the best people to operate our system. And we have by far the best plumbers in town. I will put my guys up against any companies, anywhere, anytime, any place. And that's just evidence in the type of quality work that we put out. Go online, look at our reviews on Google, look at our reviews on Angie's List. No one else is as highly rated as us unless they're putting bogus reviews up. But our company takes a lot of pride in what we do on a daily basis, and we hope that you give us a chance. Again, I'm Ryan with TampaBay Plumbers. Thanks a lot for visiting our site.